Hi guys, it's Kelly Lativola here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today I am using the Up, Up, and Away set and the, Blown Away? Blown Away is the Sentiment set. So I have not used my Zig Clean Color Markers in months. I mean, honestly, it's really been months. And so I decided that it was time to get those out and do a little watercoloring. So since I was going to be doing watercoloring, I figured I might as well do some no-line watercoloring because that's really the kind I need to practice. So I'm using the Ink on 3 Fade Out ink. I do stamp mine twice just because I feel like it gives me a better impression to work with. I also need to apologize for the glare situation in this particular video. The last video I told you about how I was trying to move around all of my lights so that I could take photos at night. And my one desk lamp never got like turned back down, so it's all very glary, and I apologize. I didn't realize it as I was making it. So I am going to be doing a little bit of masking. The way the Ink on 3 Fade Out ink works is it absorbs the color that you put over it. That's why it works so well for no line coloring. But if I just stamped the balloon, stamped the decoration over it, and then stamped the banner, the balloon lines would be through the other ones and you would be able to see them. So in order to avoid that, I did have to do a little bit of masking. I tried to take the cheater's way out for the border on the balloons, and then I realized that I was actually going to need to mask the whole thing for when I stamped the balloons. So I did have to end up trimming out the whole thing. It's all right. It didn't take me very long, but I was just being lazy. So then the balloon will be the next thing that I stamp because I want the decorations to be on top, then the banner, then the balloon. So that's the order that I stamped them in. I'm also going to be doing a little bit of stamping with the clouds. So the clouds was one of the things that I wanted to practice on here. Watercolor clouds can be really, really beautiful, but they're a little bit challenging to kind of master. I certainly have not mastered them, but I did want to practice them a little bit. So I'm going to stamp this balloon, again, everything twice. And then for the balloons that are included in the Up, Up, and Away set, I wanted to use them as a basis. I didn't want to like freehand my clouds. I'm not that confident. But so I did want something to kind of work with there. But again, that Fade Out ink, I didn't want the bottom line. I didn't want to be able to see that line. I wanted the line for the top shape of the clouds, but I wanted them to fade off on the bottom. So I'm just using a baby wipe to wipe off those lines and then only really stamping the top. And then again, I'm going to do that a second time. Then we're going to get into the watercoloring, which I have to be honest, I don't know if you guys have the same kind of problem that I do. When I don't use a product for a while, sometimes I find myself in a situation where I forget how much I like them. And that's pretty much what happened with my Zigs here. These Zig Clean Color Markers colors are so bright and beautiful, and I just love them so much. One of the, I guess, cons of them is that because they're so bright, sometimes it can be hard to get any kind of depth or dimension, but I guess just like in a single color, because they run like crazy. These things love water and then they move like crazy. But the whole idea here was basically I wanted my little hot air balloon to be either getting ready to take off or getting ready to land, however you want to look at it, with this beautiful kind of like sun, like the sun's just starting to go down. That was the way that I had envisioned it. So I'm putting down the color from the marker directly onto the paper, and I'm careful not to get too close to my stamped lines. I try to give myself a little bit of breathing room, and then I didn't cover up everything like up top because I was trying to give myself those clouds. So I just put it where I knew that I wanted it to be super blue. I am going to adjust this as I go, just because sometimes, you know, you think it's going to look one way and it looks another way. So for the sunset portion of it, I'm using a number 2 round brush. I know there are other, even card makers that do watercolor that recommend using a bigger brush. For me, because because I don't feel like I have a ton of control, using a smaller brush with less water makes me feel like I have more control. That's why I choose to do it this way. But if you are more comfortable with a larger brush, then by all means, go ahead and give that a try. So I'm going to go from the yellow up, because with these watercolors, as you move the pigment, they're going to bleed into one another. So I didn't want to bring the blue purple down into my orange and yellows. That would make brown. And then for my clouds, in order to make them kind of drop off, I put clean water inside the area that would be white. And then I brought that down to the blue and just kind of let the water do the work. I did add a little bit of shading inside the clouds using that same color blue. You can use gray or, whatever color you're comfortable with, but the blue was already there and I wasn't looking for anything that was going to be too nuts. I just wanted a little bit of shape, a little bit of form to the clouds. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. This is where I'm taking the pigment all the way to the line. I didn't need to do that with the pen because I knew I could do it with my brush. But I guess there was one part you can see on the bottom left-hand side of the hot air balloon where I got the orange too close. I will show you how to fix that later on in the video. But now for now, working on the background of the sky. So this is quite a long video because watercoloring does take me a long time. There are some people that they can do things super quick, but because it's not a medium I work with all the time, it does take me a little bit longer. Eric always teases me that I always decide to watercolor whenever I'm backed up and have to get a card done for a deadline, which I suppose is kind of true. But sometimes when you look at a stamp set, like the ideas that come to you are the ideas that come to you, and you really can't be held responsible for them, quite honestly. So yeah, I do have a story. It is a very funny story. Well, I guess we might as well launch into it. At some point, this is going to speed up a little bit. Like when I did the grass, we're kind of going to go a little bit back and forth just because this one is a little bit longer. So just heads up on that. So I have a friend who works for a crafty company. Obviously, CHA is coming up. I am not going to CHA. In fact, I've only been once, and that was, I think, maybe 5 years ago now. Maybe 4. I would definitely go back, but life just hasn't been a thing that is a priority right now, and there's always something else going on. And so I would love to see my crafty friends more than twice a year and meet other people, but sometimes that just, it just doesn't happen. But I have a friend who works for a company who is going to CHA, and unfortunately she had a loss in her family, and she had all of this kitting she needed to do. So I sent her a message. There was a bunch of us who did, but me and my forceful personality, because people find themselves in circumstances, and a lot of people are like, oh, if you need anything, let me know, which is great, and it's wonderful that people volunteer that way, but most times people will not reach out and tell you that they actually do need help. So sometimes you kind of have to be a little bit more assertive. So I did send her a message and I told her, listen, for real, what can we do to help you? Like, let us love you, please, because we can't be there for the other things. Let us love you. And so finally she conceded and was like, okay, I will send you some things to kit. Now, I have never kitted anything in my life. When I taught my classes for Neat and Tangled, I mean, they were pretty much just 1-layer cards. So there wasn't really anything to kit. The students stamped everything. They colored it. I mean, I just pretty much had to get the markers and the paper together. Like, there wasn't anything that they were going to, quote unquote, put together. which if I did card classes in real life, which is still someday a goal of mine, like it would probably be the same way, just because my cards tend to be one layer, as is this one. But I didn't design this card. Somebody else designed this card. And while the card is beautiful, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Now, I don't want I don't want this to come across as like, oh, I volunteered to do this thing for my friend and now I'm complaining about it. That's not what I mean. But I do want to express the gratitude I now feel for all of those card classes that I have taken in the past that were already kitted for me, that I just, accepted my little bag of goodies and went on to making my beautiful card. And the people who do it all the time. Who go to trade shows and who are teaching consistently. And like, this is crazy to me that they spend so much time doing this. So nonetheless, okay, so the sky is done at this point. Everything is kind of just blended out. I'm going to start working on the grass. I wanted there to be kind of like I didn't want it to just be like one hill of grass. And so I did struggle with this a little bit to get some dimension. And eventually what happened is I just had to add a darker color. I could not get the dimension that I wanted with just a single color. And that's all I have to say about. No, it's not all I have to say about that. I'm lying. Because I had the sunset going on in the background, I did want there to be a little bit of a yellow cast on the tops of the hills that would have been coming from the sun setting. So I do keep continually adding yellow in that area. That is the reason why. Back to story time. So I want, if you go to card classes or you go to trade shows or make and takes or whatever, please, 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 please appreciate that somebody has spent hours, I'm not exaggerating, hours and hours and hours and hours of their life putting those things together so that you can come in, get your little package of goodies, make your card, and go on your way. So I get the card. It was like, oh my word. So I get the card that is, there's a cut, like, so there's a die cut. It's a trifold card. There's a die cut through the center of the card base, all the way through. Okay, you can see all the way through the card. That is an oval. Then there is an insert that is also has the oval cut out of it. That has to have the oval lined up. The oval has to be lined up. Then there are 3 different flowers that are stamped and die cut. And there is, what am I missing? So we did those. Oh, and then there's a ring. There's an oval, like a decorative oval edge that goes over the front. So what is that? Die cut through the card base, die cut, the insert, 3 flowers, and the frame. So that is 6 pieces that need to be die cut. And I need to make 60 of them, ish. I think she said 58 and I made 60 because, I will make 60. I still ain't done. This is no joke. And so I am going through trying to get done what I can. And the size of the project is a 4.5 by 6 card. Which, if you know anything, if you're an avid card maker making cards, you know that that's one full sheet of paper. That is like just for the card base, and then you have to cut the insert out of another piece of paper. Like I was like, this is such a waste of paper. Why is there so much paper being wasted? There's so much paper being wasted. And I was like stacking up the like scraps of paper that I was cutting off. Hold on, back to the card. So here's where I'm removing that orange. So I'm just going in with clean water, putting that over the area, blotting it up with a clean paper towel, and then putting more water over it and blotting it up. Make sure each time you're blotting it up, you're getting a clean section of paper towel. And then we're going to move on to the coloring of the hot air balloon. The reason that I did this the way I did, I'm actually going to do it twice. And the reason that I did it that way is because I wanted the sections to stay clean. So I wanted there to be really light highlighted areas in the center of those sections, but then also really dark areas for the shadows. And so the best way that I found to achieve that was to actually paint the hot air balloon twice. So anywho, I'm slowly but surely working on them all week long. Peanut was a little bit of a challenge this week. Sometimes they're tired, they're in a growth spurt. It was the first week back to school after Christmas break. I don't know what was going on, but he just wanted to give mommy a hard time about everything from his alarm clock to his spelling words. I'm not really sure why. I hope that this week is not the same kind of week because it was a rough one. But anywho, so then last night, first of all, Eric's been working like a crazy person trying to pay for this wedding. I pick up what I can, but he has access to more part-time jobs. So pretty much Monday he worked 12 hours. This isn't even including drive time, guys. This is just hours on the clock. Monday he worked 12 hours. Tuesday he worked 10. Wednesday he worked 12. Thursday he worked 16. Friday he worked 16. So he comes home on Friday night and he's like, I just need a 20-minute nap and then I'll get up and help you kit. And I was like, it's totally fine. Like, just go to bed. And he was like, no, I'm gonna help you. So his 20-minute nap turned into like a 2-hour nap. But then he total trooper got up after his 2-hour nap and started helping me die cut, which was awesome because I seriously needed the help. I don't have a Gemini Junior or a Vagabond or anything that's electronic, so all of my die cutting is by hand. My traps are going to be huge. I'm going to look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame because it's only on my right hand side because I cannot turn the little handle with my left. I'm right hand dominant and my left hand doesn't do a lot of good things. But anywho, so we're sitting there going through, and because the die cut piece, the decorative piece, is so intricate, and it is very pretty, but is so intricate, you have to use the pokey tool. Like, I never really used the pokey tool because I don't have a lot that I die cut, but over the years of, working for different companies and everything, I've had pokey tools sent to me, and so I have a pokey tool, and we needed it last night, no joke. So we're going through, he's doing his thing as far as the, die cutting. The inserts were hard for him, even though I made a template so that they would line up. It was hard for him to line up the card base with the insert. So even though that one was harder to push through because I was cutting 2 pieces of cardstock at one time, I still ended up with that, and he ended up doing the decorative edge. So we're across from You're going to think I'm the worst fiance in the world. I'm laughing already. But so we're sitting there at the kitchen table across from each other, chatting and what have you, doing all of this, die cutting, and he gets he drops the pokey tool. And I'm not even paying any attention because throughout this whole process, like, stamps have been dropped on the ground, dies have been dropped on the ground, paper's been dropped on the ground. Like, the kitchen table's only so big and we're trying to make 60 of these things, right? So I don't even notice that the tool drops, to be completely honest. And then, like, all of a sudden he looks at me and he's like, it's in my foot. And I'm like, what? What is in your foot? He's like, it's in my foot. I'm going to need you to get it. And I'm like, what has he, like, is sleep deprivation gotten him? What is he even referring to? And he's like, no, babe, seriously, you're going to have to get on the table and get it out. It's in my foot. So I move my chair and crawl underneath the kitchen table. And sure enough, the pokey tool, like the stabby part of the pokey tool, is about a 1/2 inch into the side of his foot. Like, I'm not exaggerating. It's in there, like, right below his big toe, like that meaty portion of your foot. It's in there. It's in there like an inch and a half, or I'm sorry, a half an inch. Ooh, an inch and a half would be way worse, but like a half an inch. And I'm like, what? He's like, just pull it out. Just do it. Just pull it out. So I proceed to pull. He got stabbed, basically. He got stabbed while we were card kidding. And so I pull it out, which is totally gross. And like, he doesn't start bleeding right away. So get up, grab a paper towel. He's bleeding a little bit. He's putting pressure on it. And I'm like, how did that even happen to you? Did you step on it? Like, what happened? So pretty much what happened was he dropped the pokey tool. He realized the pokey tool got dropped. He went to move his chair out so that he could bend down to get the pokey tool that was under the table. And when he moved his foot to get the chair out, I guess the way that, you know, the cookie crumbled, the pokey tool, the other end, butted up against the other chair that was, you know, pushed in under the table. And the pressure of it from it being up against the chair actually drove it into his foot, effectively stabbing him with the paper pokey tool. And that's pretty much what happened. So then, like, I leave him in the kitchen. I'm like, I'm going to go get the peroxide and the Band-Aid or whatever. And now at this point, it is, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I've been kidding since, I don't know, probably 11:30. And then, you know, he napped or whatever and joined at a later time. But so I start laughing. I just start cracking up laughing. Like, what else could possibly happen during this kidding experience except Eric gets stabbed with a pokey tool? So I'm like tears streaming down my face laughing. He's laughing. We're like collapsing on the stairs just in fits of laughter while he's trying to hold this paper towel on his foot so he doesn't get blood on the stairs. The dogs are like jumping all over him and trying to lick his face. It was just quite the scene, honestly. So eventually I did make it upstairs. I got the peroxide. I bandaged up his little boo-boo, and then we went back to doing what we could. Now, the kits need to be where they need to be by Monday. And so that's why I was staying up until the wee hours of the morning. And I was just pretty much like, okay, I'm just going to have to stay up all night. Like, it is what it is. I have to get them in the mail. The post office closes at noon and they have to be there by Monday. I have to mail them on Saturday morning. And so around 6 o'clock in the morning, it occurred to me that the United States Postal Service, while amazing, is actually not the only way to ship things. And that maybe a UPS or a FedEx would, in fact, be open on Sunday. And so I did a little bit of Googling. I did confirm that there was a UPS that was open on Sunday in the city next to mine. And so then I took my happy booty to bed because I actually had worked day shift that day. So I got up at 6:30 in the morning for work. I did get I went to my regular job. Then I had to go to the college to do some basically class prep. We're redoing some of the like PowerPoints and things, and then came home, caught a 20-minute nap, did my video from yesterday, and then pretty much started kidding. That was kind of like my whole day. And so I had been up for almost 24 hours with only a 20-minute nap. So then I just took my tushy to bed. He got up. His brother was helping him move some larger items. So he did have to get up a little earlier than me, even though he didn't go to bed until like 5:30. So then we napped today. We totally napped, and it was glorious. I was super happy about it. I love naps. I love naps regularly. I also love naps when I have to stay up all night. So, anyway, back to the little card. So the watercoloring is done at this point. For the banner, I wanted it to be like a golden yellow. I did end up having to do some of the shading with like a reddish brown. And then I just used a I think it's a gray brown, to do the shadow for the hot air balloon, and then drew in like a little fence because I thought that was super cute. Zig Clean Color Markers, if you've never used them before, you do not have to use them with water. They will blend together just by using the markers themselves, but I like them better with water. That's just me. So I picked the Sending Smile sentiment. There's a lot of really cute ones in here. Follow your heart, love is in the air, let your dreams soar, just, and then good ones like thinking of you just to know. There's a happy retirement one in there, which I really love. But then, so after that was all done and stamped, I did go back in with a clear glitter pen. Be careful with that because you can reactivate the ink. Make sure you're kind of wiping it off as you go. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.